Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Uh, I will like the main goal today. It is trying to bring like more like the awareness, how you can create like the best practice with the multi-cloud approach, right? When you were talking about the cloud governance and operational excellence. I have like so many organizations asking us like this kind of things after some conversations, right? And I try to make like a very simple way where you can start in the first steps by steps with the best practice. In the end, I will be also sharing a little bit of one article that it is very built based in this presentation, and you feel free to read those. And if you have any questions, please reach me out. I'm Fernando Cardoso, one of the solutions architect for AWS Alliance at Trend Micro. And let's start the presentation. The first piece here, it is just like mentioning about like the three major cloud builders, right? Every single time when we talk about cloud migration, it is very common for us to remember about like a shift and lift, right? It is just like grabbing the regular virtual machines or physical servers and migrating them to the cloud. Very common association with the cloud migration, but you have like a lot of other different cases where you can work with the hybrid data centers, multi-cloud infrastructure, and the regular monolithic migration to of the apps. When you talk about like cloud native applications, right? Companies are starting building and looking for what we call CNCF, like landscape, right? You starting looking for Kubernetes, Docker, GRCP, and many other like technologies that you can find inside the CNCF landscape, like a Harbor for registries and all those kind of things. And when you start in building applications using those kind of like platforms or softwares or tools, you start in creating more like a cloud native applications. You start in using like serverless containers, microservices, and all this new method of like building and running your applications, right? Very robust because you can start in getting those regular monolithic application and breaking down in like microservices where if one area fails, it is very easy for you to like recover. Plus, it's much easier for you to update those applications in the new platforms that you are creating. And the last piece here, it is the most important from today, right? The governance and operational excellence. And when we talk about this, I like to remember three major areas, right? The governance, risk, compliance, and operational excellence. They try to mix a little bit all these areas together in the cloud governance and operational excellence, but it is very popular, and I see the most requested things in this area. It is the risk and compliance, right? So many organizations they try to like do the cloud migration or the cloud native applications building process, and they try to follow their regular compliance like a PCI DSS, HIPAA compliance, HITRUST, NIST 853, ISO 27001, right? And so many others. Plus, you have the regular governance inside your organizations that you try to follow or use those standards and frameworks most common in the market to meet with your regulations or internal governance that you have in your organizations. When we go a little bit further, here's the top 5 configurations failures. When we talk about cloud governance, configurations and misconfigs are very, very important, right? And this is like a very common and simple cases where storage access is being open to the internet, secrets management, they are not encrypted, disable logging or monitoring. For example, you are creating storage systems in the cloud, or you are creating Kubernetes clusters. How you are monitoring? Are you logging all these informations about like creating and destroying new containers? Are you sending all this information to like a syslog or SIEM that you can save for like over 6 months or a year, depending how the compliance is requesting you, right? All those informations are very, very important. Overly permissive access to the hosts, containers, and virtual machines. And the last one, lack of validation, right? Like how you can make sure you are making the validation in the pipeline that you are building. When we talk about like a cloud native application, it is very common you create like a CI/CD pipelines for every single application that you are building in different squads, right? And I brought like here a very important statement from Gartner, where they say through 2023, at least 99% of cloud security failures will be the customer faults. And when they say that, it is because when you look for like any cloud provider, they have the share responsibility, right? And they have like specifically areas that it is the customer responsibility of like managing security, patching, and all those kind of things. And there are so many areas that customers need to have like specifically configurations around like specifically storage systems, microservices, serverless applications, and those misconfigurations are like the most common mistakes from a lot of customers today. And Gartner mentioned too, like through 2024, organizations will be deploying CSPM technologies, and this is basically cloud secure posture management technologies, right? To bring this awareness and starting reducing the misconfigurations around security incidents and security mistakes in the cloud providers. And I brought like this specifically statement when we talk about governance and operational excellence, right? The cloud offers immutable benefits for your organizations and business, as long you have the right policies and guardrails to protect it from possible mistakes or misconfigurations in the cloud services. I put this in one of my articles, and I think it is very important to remember. You can create whatever you want in the cloud, but it's very, very important for you to define the policies and the guardrails to start in protecting and bringing better visibility about what you are building and creating in those cloud providers, right? And here I try to put like some important areas for you to bring some awareness to, right? How can organizations create a cloud governance and operational excellence strategy? The first piece here that I believe it is very, very important, it is the awareness and visibility, right? Organization needs to be aware about like their applications, about what their cloud teams are creating or destroying or processing in the cloud. Security risk across multi-cloud platforms, but not just cloud platforms, right? But your regular data centers are very, very important. And all these things are like being built around like a CI/CD pipelines. This is a very simple example about like developers pushing code to the Git repository, and you have a CI/CD technologies with GitLab, GitHub Actions, or Jenkins, or CircleCI, and so many others, where you are pushing your code or creating your applications in AWS, Azure, or GCP. But like, how do you make sure these pipelines, or do you have any awareness or visibility around this pipeline? Do you collect specifically telemetrics informations about like how many configurations are being pushed to production? Like, are you reading the CloudFormation templates or Terraform templates before you created those infrastructures? Are you scanning every single container image before you push to production in a Kubernetes cluster and all these kind of things? Because those are very, very, very like a regular mistakes that it is happening in the market today, right? In many organizations, and it will be very important for you to start adding some kind of like security layers or security tools integrated in your pipelines to bring this awareness and visibility. And this is a very simple pipeline, right? But imagine you have a major applications or many applications using this high availability module, right? Where you create like different zones or different regions in AWS or Azure or GCP, and you start creating like many applications in those environments. It is so hard for you to start in monitoring when you have like many pipelines and many squads pushing new applications and new solutions to cloud providers, and you don't have this visibility in the pipeline, right? There are so many technologies today in the market, and Cloud One Conformity is one of those that you can bring like a very nice way to help you with the compliance information, right? With like some visibility where you are failing. which specifically pillars from like AWS Web Architecture Framework or Azure Web Architecture Framework you are failing, like in the security, cost optimization, operational excellence, reliability, and performance efficiency. Those are very important areas, not just to help the security teams, but to help the cloud architects, DevOps engineers, product managers from applications, and many others, right, to bring more awareness about like what is happening compared with the best practice frameworks in the market. I don't know if is there any questions here. I will keep my eyes on the questions, and Ron, please let me know if there is some too. I like to answer on the fly, but looks like don't have.
Yep, let's keep going.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And when we go to the next step here is the establish and maintain security, right? Like I mentioned before, the shared security responsibility module, it is applied for like every single cloud provider. This is an image from Microsoft, right? And it's important to remember that security should be considered a shared responsibility if one is to keep data safe in the cloud, right? It is very important to understand that like a lot of the security areas in infrastructure, it is the cloud provider responsibility, right? But there are so many areas like application level controls or identity and access management, client and endpoint protection, or sorry, data classification and accountability. They are like most of the time like customer responsibilities, right? They have like a half and a half, and depending which case you are. And as Microsoft was mentioning before, right? PaaS or SaaS technologies from them reduce a lot of the heavy lift about like the controls and the configurations that customers need to do, because you are basically reducing the level of the cloud customers responsibility, right? It is very important to understand this kind of like a matrix, right? For you to look to the right point and how you can increase your security layers compared with the responsibilities that you have based in the services that you use in the cloud, right? And a third point here that's very important, some people forget to do this, right? It is to classify and structure your data. They have like so many like frameworks and regulations across the globe, right? GDPR is a good example, CCPA here in California, LGPD in Brazil, like all these like regulations, they are trying to protect the users, right? And the regular consumers from like your applications organizations. And the main idea here is like you need to starting classifying the data that you have in your applications, because if any of those customers from these countries or from a specific state are requesting those data to delete or to view or to like collect those informations, you need to have this structure pretty well for you to give to them, right? It's very important when you are building new applications and you are saving data in the cloud, please start making a good classification and structure of like the data from your customers, right? The next one is like controlled and management access, right? I put like some specifically pieces that I believe it would be important when you are planning the management access, like how you can plan the work, implementation, and maintenance, right? It is very important for you to always start and work with the least privilege access, right? And starting allowing access for specific applications or services in the cloud providers with the time, with the right validations for every single user. Don't try to enable everything to them, because a lot of problems can happen, right? Remember, a very important piece, it is enabling the MFA. I think Microsoft was mentioning about their Microsoft Authenticator, right? Where you can have inside the mobile phones and just generate the tokens, or sometimes you can accept and logging specifically access to their platforms in Azure and also in a couple other systems from Microsoft. But those MFAs are very important to increase the level of like access for confidentiality and identification from the users from specific applications, right? Try to add those specific things that will help you creating a much better structure of like management access. Manage your cost in the cloud, right? So many organizations today, sometimes they start immigrating a lot of workload and starting spending more than they have before in the data center because they are too open. Anyone can start creating like EC2s or virtual machines and all those kind of things. Controlled access can help you with that, right? Like making sure who you have the access to build like a new virtual machines or EC2s. They are very, very important aspect, but also making sure and have like a broad visibility about like idle EC2s, reserved instance that you are like being inspired, and use it EBS and use it like a RDS and many other things that can increase your cost drastically, right, in the cloud. There are many like apps and solutions today in the market. What I would recommend for you to look a little bit in deeper, but if you want to like a very robust technology for application cost, right, transparency, would be Apptio and Cloudin. Those are very good technologies around the management cost. Our technology, for example, today, conformity, we have like a specifically pillar that we can bring some visibilities around this specific topics that I mentioned here. We help a lot of organizations with this. Just a little information here, like we help like organizations before where they were spending like $10,000 over because the unused EBS and use it like RDS and EC2s, and we have them with like a bringing visibility, and they could reduce the cost in like $10,000 in a month just because the over like usage of like a specific instance that could be reduced the size of the instance and a couple other resources in the cloud for a better management perspective, right? With that, I like to like just remember, right? Fine tuning it's important to achieve balance and the desired risk tolerance for your organization with respect to access, control, data privacy, cost, security, and compliance. Those are very important areas. And I see a lot of organizations sometimes they starting creating all these methods with like a classification data, management access, and maintaining security. But they do this one time and after they forget. They say like, oh, it's all set up. I don't need to take the eyes on this, right? And this is completely wrong, right? Do not set it and forget it, right? Security is a very important aspect in the business, and you need to always keep the eyes open. Technologies that can monitor your environment in real time and feed your DevOps engineers, cloud architects with like a notification, open ticket in their systems like Jira, ServiceNow, PagerDuty, right, or Slack channels. They are very, very important for you to keep the eyes open about any specific risk or like a drift associated with the best practice, right? It's very important to understand that like bring a visibility around like a AWS Web Architecture Framework or Azure Web Architecture Framework can help your organization not to achieve a better security, right? But a better like a way to be running your applications, a more false tolerance applications, more like operational applications that can save you a lot of money in the future, but also can accelerate the process how you are building and creating like new features for them, right? Those are very important aspects.